All right, I'm Josh, and welcome to the Nerdquest podcast. Today we don't have Jake, we just have Josh, aka Zorgulon, Destroyer of Worlds, but we do have three guests because I'm in Chicago. So, first guest is someone you've heard on the podcast a couple times.
This is Matthew Jenkins, Zorgulon's younger brother.
Yeah, we got me. I am Chris, I'm a cousin of Zorgulon.
And I'm Nick, also a cousin of Zorgulon, but you may call me Spockling.
All right, so just like to remind y'all that we're not affiliated with the Nerdquest indie movie, and let's get to it. Today's topic is the highly anticipated Pokemon X and Y releases for the Nintendo 3DS. First off, all of the information I'm dragging from it are from various internet articles, but there are two Pokemon websites that I use a lot. There's Cerebi.net and Bulbapedia. Bulbapedia is the one that we're using for this podcast information. Alright, so first off we have, what are you guys looking forward to most since you guys have seen the trailers for Pokemon X and Y?
Well, I think what I'm looking forward to most is the more 3D element. They have images of you swinging around vines, around buildings that are circular looking and not blocky in 2D.
Right.
Which makes the game look really, really nice.
Yeah, the game does have really crisp looking graphics. I like that. So basically, Christopher here is excited for the for the cheap gimmick.
Yay!
What do you think, Matthew?
This is going to sound kind of ridiculous to those who don't play Pokemon very much, but I am extremely excited by the fact that we can finally move diagonally in this game.
Yes!
That would have helped escape unwanted Pokemon encounters so many times in the past.
Yes. What about you, Nick?
I'm kind of excited for the Horde battles. I think those would be absolutely fantastic. You can get some of those more cinematic elements from the movies.
Yeah.
And the TV, original TV show.
Yeah, like the original TV show, one of the first few episodes is Ash and Pikachu fending off an entire flock of Spearow.
Right, absolutely.
And that's, for those of you who don't know, Horde battles are going to be epic 5-on-1 battles. You'll be able to run into, 5, 3 Pidgey, 2 Rattata. I saw a screen cap of one that was 4 Tauros and 1 Miltank.
Ouch.
I'm not sure which one I'm more terrified of, because Whitney's Miltank is the most broken, tanky, terrifying piece of crap I've ever seen.
That can regenerate health.
I know the Horde that I've seen that I'm most afraid of.
What would that be?
Somebody posted a picture of a person encountering 5 Zubat at once.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
The amount of Confused Ray is just outrageous.
And Supersonic, and, Leech Life, and...
Oh, Leech Life.
So... apparently they give massive experience, but that's because you have to survive 5 attacks before you can get to your 1.
Right.
As for me, it's really tough. I'm really a big fan of the Sky Battles, which we're going to touch on later. Moving diagonally's got me really excited. I'm very rarely excited for this, but I'm actually excited for some of the new Pokemon coming out. But... I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to most is actually just the region in general, because it's based on France, and among other things, France is famous for its love of art and culture. So, Black and White were set in New York, which, yes, New York is a cultural capital of the United States, and that made me sad to say. Because what is the first thing everyone thinks of when they think of New York?
Natural History Museum?
Matthew thinks of Night at the Museum.
No, I think of the place, not the movie.
I know. But I think of two things. One is, I'm walking here! And the other one being people just being rude and stuff.
Sorry, Natural History Museum and superheroes are what I think of.
True. What about you guys? What first thing you think of when you hear New York?
Broadway.
Yeah, Broadway. And contrary to popular belief, in my experience at least, New Yorkers are not nearly as mean as the stereotype says. In all of my experience, there have been helpful people. They just don't like being run over very much. They will stand their ground. If you are standoffish to them, they will be standoffish to you. But unfortunately, 'tis the stereotype. Yeah,
but the stereotype is these cold, unfriendly people, and that made Black and White less fun for me to play. But France stereotype is lovers and basically as the stereotype as I understand it is that France is a very pleasant place. And I'm just kind of excited to see that and see a lot of how the architecture is worked into the game, if it is. Now, we've mentioned that they've released some new Pokemon. They've only released a handful of it because I am under the impression, I could be horribly wrong, but I'm under the impression we're going to run into a lot of Pokemon from Kanto, actually, seeing as extrapolating because a lot of... I understand they're not going to want to give anything away, but a lot of the examples have used Kanto Pokemon.
Like the Zubat?
Like the Zubat, like someone riding a Rhyhorn, which is incidentally something else I'm very excited about. But so what is your favorite new Pokemon? I'm not going to post pictures of these Pokemon. You can go to Bulbapedia and find them because that's just what we did, just Pokemon X and Y info on Bulbapedia. So let's start with Christopher.
There's a little lion cub Pokemon.
Litleo.
It's called Litleo, and it doesn't show the evolutions on there, but
we can assume it's something terrifying.
Right, a fire type lion cub Pokemon can only evolve into fun things.
Yes. What about you, Matthew?
I don't actually know. I can't remember most of the names at all. But the fire starter, I think it was like Firekin or something. The one that kind of like...
Oh, Fennekin.
Fennekin.
Yeah, it's based on a fox.
Yeah, I noticed that. I thought that was kind of interesting. That or the little panda.
Oh, Pancham.
Pancham, yeah. And we saw its evolution, and it was...
Pangoro, which I love because
terrifying.
I'd like to mention this real quick. Pancham and Pangoro are two very, very Japanese names, and pandas are, of course, very, Asian in general, but I think of pandas as Japanese. I know it's probably horribly, horribly wrong.
They're generally in China, actually.
Exactly. Like I said, horribly, horribly wrong, but it's very, anything with the suffix of Goro is huge. And Pangoro definitely fits that bill. Nick?
Kind of excited for the legendaries.
Yes. I'm probably going to massacre this name, but Yvelta, I think. And it's the presumably Dark and Dragon type, or just straight dragon. And then there's Xerneas, which is the stag, which my brother and I, Jenkins and Zorgulon tend to get Pokemon games in pairs, because, we're brothers. Well... As do the other two, Christopher and Nick. Yeah, Chris and Spockling. And we've decided that I'm going to get Pokemon X because that's the one with Xerneas. Because I'm a big fan of the phrase "swiggity swag,"
which has recently come into much use on Tumblr, I believe.
Yes, and it's and so I've decided, and I have a copyright on this name. So if I find out that you've named your Xerneas this, I will hunt you down and gut you like a carp. I'm going to name it Swiggity Swag because its full name is Swiggity Swag, the legendary stag. And
hopefully you can fit all that in a name.
Oh, no, I can fit Swiggity Swag.
It is the legendary stag, so it doesn't need to add that to the name.
Right.
That's true.
As for my favorite new Pokemon, we've already touched on them. It's either got to be the Pancham Pangoro line or Talonflame.
That was the one
which is this murdery bird of fire.
That does look pretty awesome.
That I bet you anything's based on a phoenix. That along with Ho-Oh.
Or its evolution. If it has an evolution.
I'm pretty sure Talonflame looks like the last evolution.
Yes, it does.
Oh, there's also Malmar. Malmar looks like this deep sea abomination that just looked like Christopher mentioned that it looked really creepy.
Bro,
Yes.
do you think it's going
And
to
I'm
evolve
excited
into
for that one
Cthulhu?
too. It better evolve into Cthulhu. So we mentioned both Horde and Sky Battles before. What are you guys' thoughts on that? I mean, Chris, just anything in particular stand out? I mean,
I feel like the Horde battles are going to be really cool, but I'm probably going to have a heart attack if I ever come across one at a bad time. I'll be wandering through the woods with one Pokemon left,
especially
who's poisoned and asleep and taking damage every step I take.
Chris.
And then all of a sudden there are 5 of them, and it's just like
especially
You run into 5 Salamence.
Or the new Victory Road, wherever that's going to be.
Yeah.
Oh, not to mention, not to mention if you have to run away from each one of the Pokemon,
that'd be awful.
you hit run away and then only one leaves.
Oh, that would be disgusting.
I don't think that's how it'll work because Ash used run away on the flock of Spearows. Then again, he couldn't escape. So
also remember, shows are hardly canon. At least for the games.
So, what do you think about Horde and Sky Battles, Matthew?
I kind of agree with Chris. Horde battles are going to be terrifying, and if I ever run into 5 Rhyhorn, I'm going to die.
not to mention the line of Tauros and Miltank.
Sorry.
I mean,
5 Rhyhorn, I'm going to simultaneously die and use Surf.
Yes. Yeah, and they've mentioned that moves like Rock Slide or Surf or Earthquake will hit all the Pokemon in the Horde.
Well, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
what they did in previous like double battles. And
Right,
stuff like
but
that.
those didn't deal with 5 Pokemon at
That's
once.
true. But
Yeah.
I was just saying, continuing the trend.
My response to Sky Battles is that I'm going to keep at least one Pokemon that can fly on me at all times.
Yeah.
And I'm really sad that you don't get to ride them.
I actually, I'm under the impression that, because I saw this in one of the trailers, I think one of the gym leaders actually, their entire battle is a Sky Battle.
Oh, that's vile.
I need to find a way to... Wait.
That's glorious. Haunter was involved.
Okay, if they're a flying type, I'm going to need to find a way to get a Zapdos.
Yes. Because
Zapdos will solve all problems.
Zapdos in a flying, unless it's like Magnemite. But
I could just get one of those, actually.
yeah, but it's just okay. So Nick? What do you think about Horde and Sky Battles? I mean, you mentioned that Horde battles
I'm
before.
looking forward to. Sky battles would be fun, especially I don't know. I just kind of like the mechanic. That seems pretty cool.
I just had a thought.
What?
I wonder if, when battling between players, you can select to do a Sky Battle.
I think a lot of it's mentioned. I've seen one more time in English. A couple times you walk up to a trainer and then it'll give an option that says participate in a Sky Battle with this trainer. Which I'm hoping that you can do that to everyone who happens to have a flying Pokemon.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And would actually probably make some easier if not all the Pokemon can fly. But
Right. As for what I think sorry, Nick, you were interrupted.
No, that's fine. I was finished.
All right. My thoughts on Horde and Sky Battles are combination joy, because we've always seen in like the shows and stuff, like Charizard and Charizard were going at it once, I remember watching, and then just watching them in the sky, I'm like, I need that. And so that day has finally come, and I can have like Talonflame versus Pidgeot in the air. Or Haunter versus Gengar in the air. And Horde Battles, I am combination really excited, because I feel like that adds this edge of realism that makes a lot of sense. Because, yes, you're going to run into... These wild Pokemon are going to line up single file to battle you.
Oh.
But, what?
One other thing about Horde Battles. See you moving diagonally beforehand.
Yeah. But, with Horde Battles, it's a combination of excitement and abject terror. Because we've mentioned hordes of Zubats, hordes of Tauros and Miltank, hordes of Rhyhorn, hordes of Salamence was brought up, and... I am not excited for that. In fact, I am, stark terror. But overall, I'm very excited for them. I think they're going to be really cool looking.
Is that Tony Stark terror?
Yes, it is Tony Stark terror.
Especially the Steel-type trainer.
Yes.
Right.
So, what are you guys' thoughts on the new type introduced, the Fairy type? Which was, for those of you who don't know, Pokemon introduced the Fairy type specifically to counter dragons, because previously dragons were only weak to Dragon type and Ice type. So this way, along with every other type, they have 3 weaknesses.
That's probably a good thing to balance them, because they have been really, really strong in the past. My thoughts on fairy types, I don't know. I think it was kind of time for some of those things to come about. There are some Pokemon who are so blatantly fairies that they need to have a type and some moves associated with them.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably a good move.
Yeah.
I'm with Chris, because I think that it does bring a little bit more balance to the dragon types game-wise, so you can't just blast the entire game as soon as you get a terrain of dragon type.
Right.
Also, I agree. That
was my strategy in Ruby.
There are some Pokemon, when you look at them, it's kind of like, why were they not a fairy type in the first place?
Yeah.
Oxy, Mespirit,
Azelf.
the other one, yeah. The one that no one remembers
how
the name
about
of.
Clefairy?
We'll get to that in a minute. Nick, any thoughts in particular on Fairy?
No, that basically, I just have to reiterate what they said.
As for my thoughts, it was kind of, Fairy type, that's ridiculous. And then I was like, fairies. Fairies. Especially because I've been really getting into Celtic mythology, and of course that's all fairy. And then I thought, okay, why in the world would they choose fairy type to counter dragons, these massive beasts of death? Then I thought, 1, fairies have magic. But 2, fairies and fae in the Celtic lore and in pretty much everything, they're always very tricksy and very intelligent. And very, very clever, and very, very going to make you die with tricks. So that actually makes sense, because dragons, yes, they are portrayed as cunning and intelligent, but they are a far cry less tricksy than fairies, and I think fairies can mess their shit up. But and some of the some Pokemon were retconned into fairy type. There's a couple fairy moves have been released. The only one I can remember right now is Fairy Aura, and it makes all fairy moves in the battle, I think 2 times stronger, until it wears off. But that includes your enemy's Pokemon. But there's they even released a fairy Eevee evolution, Sylveon, which I thought was funny because a Sylvan is a forest elf, a forest sprite. What do you guys think of Sylveon?
I'm cool with it. I mean, you get a new Pokemon edition, there always has to be a new Eevee evolution. It's just one of those things.
I was a little irritated by the fact that they went so stereotypical fairy with it, because it's white and pink with bows everywhere. Whereas, a lot of fairies in like lore and literature are like Puck. Puck's a forest sprite. He's mud and grass toned, but that's just my own thing.
But if you look at the other Eevee evolutions, I mean, some of them are...
They're pretty stereotypical, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean Flareon, Jolteon, Vaporeon,
And,
I suppose I should rescind that then.
Yeah. My response to that was going to be, well, I mean, they already have Leafeon for the whole, the grass thing, so also if they get new players, they might confuse them.
That's true. That's true.
I'm particularly a fan of Eevee in general, and honestly, I'm kind of surprised I haven't just gone through and made an entire party of Eeveelutions yet. But
me too, actually.
But so I'm actually kind of excited for this one, and as has been mentioned off the podcast a couple of times by both the internet and my older brother, usually Eeveelutions come in pairs, because after the first two there is Umbreon and Espeon, and then Leafeon and Glaceon are the next ones. So hopefully this comes in pairs too. And
not to mention, each of those have been 2 times weak to one of them, so that would mean Dragon type.
Mm-hmm. Fairy probably has an advantage over something else, but there's not a whole lot they haven't covered yet with Eevee.
How would they do a Dragon Eevee evolution? That would be so weird.
It would look so awesome. Cool.
I am getting that if it's a thing. So I'm pretty interested in seeing how Sylveon develops.
I'm really hoping for a Dragon Eevee evolution. That would look awesome.
That would be pretty sweet.
As for the retconned Pokemon, specifically that have been mentioned, Jigglypuff has been retconned into a fairy.
To speak on the last.
I'm sorry.
No,
okay.
It's fine. I'm good.
So Jigglypuff, Marill, and Gardevoir have all been retconned to be fairies.
I buy it. They all look fairy-ish.
You said Jigglypuff, Marill, and Gardevoir?
Yeah.
Jigglypuff, I can definitely see it. Gardevoir, I can see it a little bit more because it has almost an elfish look if you had to associate it with a fantastic creature. Marill, I find a little weird, but I could accept it if...
Yeah, well, she's got kind of that sprightly appearance. I mean...
Yeah, I think that it would make a lot more sense for a Azurill than Marill, but...
Yeah, but...
Jigglypuff.
Yeah, I have a slight problem with Gardevoir actually being a fairy, because... I don't know. I see her, and I think she should be a psychic ghost type.
Agreed.
Because she kind of makes me think of a woman in white, or like a spirit that haunts hallways or things like that. I am very unbelievably angry that Clefairy is not included in this, because its name has fairy in it. Now, I mean, I figured that. The reason I'm so angry about this is they may have just silently made Clefairy a fairy type, but God, I hope that is, because if they haven't, there will be nowhere they can hide from my wrath. But they went out. The only reason I don't think they did is because they specifically mentioned that Jigglypuff is a fairy, and Jigglypuff and Clefairy are kind of the rival Pokemon like Magmar and Electabuzz, or crap ton of things. But Clefairy, already has Metronome, already has all these fairy-esque abilities. By the way, has anyone else, quick aside, has anybody else noticed that Metronome has been rapidly disappearing?
Yeah, I noticed, and it kind of makes me sad.
Because Metronome was just a fun ability.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
And it's Clefairy's, thing, Clefairy and Togepi, which also should be a fairy type.
Yeah, especially Togepi, but look at Togekiss. It looks like a fairy.
Yeah, and Togetic, too.
Yeah. The higher evolution.
Sorry, I was thinking of Togetic actually.
Yeah, and Togekiss also looks like a fairy moth thing, but I'm just so even more than those, I am so angry that Clefairy and Clefable Clefable have not been made fairy types. And watch, this entire rant will be rendered completely useless by the fact that they'll silently make Clefairy a fairy type.
Well,
and then I'll have to go on record as, sorry guys, but
unless they just hear
so
this
yeah,
and decide to change
that's my
it.
thought on the retcon Pokemon. Pissed off because there's no Clefairy, little mystified and a little bit miffed that Gardevoir is a fairy. But other than that, I'm totally cool with it. And I'm actually really excited to use fairies, because Chris and I especially have this thing where we like to use these completely innocuous Pokemon to rip shit up.
Examples?
My Blossom is an example.
And the Dusclops.
And, yes.
They're not exactly innocuous.
Well, they're not very... Dusclops is not a very intimidating Pokemon.
No, but the amount of Confuse Ray and Sleeping Powder was absolutely outrageous.
Well, my Blossom, Blossom is a very pretty Pokemon. It's a very cute Pokemon. And I'd toss it out alongside my Groudon, of all things. So it's like, oh, by the way, there's sun everywhere. Solar Beam, Solar Beam, Solar Beam! Yeah, the four of us do Pokemon battles quite a bit. Not so much in recent years, but...
and also mostly just Zergulon and Chris. Nick and I kind of hang back until they insist on teaming up against us in a double battle.
Yes.
That's pretty much how it goes.
And usually
But
we lose.
we've touched on this a little bit, but what other Pokemon besides Clefairy and Clefable and the Togepi line should be made fairies?
That is an interesting question.
Part of me, this is completely, it wouldn't work at all, but part of me kind of wants Butterfree to be a fairy.
I could see it, but I think they've got it pretty well.
Yeah, they've got it pretty well typed. I can see it happening.
What about Jirachi?
Yes!
Yeah.
Jirachi, I'm pretty sure, is based on a fairy.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm pretty sure Shooting Star, but he should be a fairy. I feel like
Same damn thing in this case.
I feel like they should have a fairy counterpart to Sneasel.
Yeah. I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, it just seems like there should be one.
To be honest, I think of Clefairy as the antithesis of Sneasel. Because Sneasel, yeah. But, Clefairy, Clefable, obviously, fairies. I'm really hung up on that. It was really difficult for me to get away from that.
We know.
Others...
I could see, Fianny and its type being fairies. Yeah. I don't remember what the other one is.
Manaphy.
Yeah, that one.
Ledian and Ledaba, I think, should be fairies.
Yeah, they could be fairies.
There's a lot of bug types I could see double typed as fairies.
Yeah.
That'd be a really interesting one. Bug and fairy.
It would make Bugs so much more badass, though.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Bug takes down Dragon!
Okay, I've got a question. I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but what do you guys think the stat focus for fairy types are going to be? Like special attack, special defense, probably one of those two, maybe speed?
Special attack.
Yeah, maybe special attack.
Well, it's got to take down a dragon, so I think special attack. Maybe special defense.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
Nick?
probably. I would say so.
My thoughts are special attack or maybe speed. I could definitely see them having a high speed.
Yeah, me too.
Especially because my brother's...
I think that... I think... What about move types? Like move sets? Do you think they're going to be mostly aggro, defensive, or what?
I feel like, just from the sound of, you mentioned Fairy R earlier, it sounds like they're going to be boosting things up.
Like a support class?
Yeah.
Boosting themselves up and then hammering at the opponent afterwards.
Yeah, I think there might be abilities that power themselves up so that they're fairly,
Tanky?
they're fairly, unassuming at first, and then maybe build up and
Become a devastating monster of death?
Right, unleashed after that.
Or just antagonize the opponent and decrease their stats.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
thinking they're going to be the
That's what a fair
tricky ones with imagine a Pokemon
A little
with
bit like poison, but with everything.
imagine a Pokemon with the ability spore, metronome, mean look or bind, and let's go with toxic. So it has no attacking moves, but you will regret it the instant that thing hits the field. Just I will do all the things.
Although, I guess part of my basis was the fact that I've only heard of the one fairy move. So I guess it really depends on what the fairy moves do as to what most
I know there's
fairy
one
actions
fairy energy blast type attack.
I wanna
It looks
see that.
it looks a little like Psycho Blast did in the other games.
I want to see that.
Me too.
For some reason, I get the feeling that I could see a couple psychic fairies, kind of like you mentioned with Gardevoir, coming
And-
out.
What do you guys think the legendary trio of this region is going to be? Because we have Zapdos, Articuno, Moltres. We have the legendary dogs. We have Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza.
And the Reggies.
The Reggies. We have And we have Uxie, Melspret, and Azelf. All three of those in Owen. Wow. Owen just has the legendary trios everywhere.
Uxie, Melspret, and Azelf were Sinnoh.
I guess they were, weren't they?
Yeah.
Regardless, I care not, because I'm positive they were Owen.
No, they weren't. Because remember the lakes, like Lake Valor, and those were where the...
Yeah, I suppose they were.
Uxie, Melspret, and Azelf resided.
Regardless, and so we have those legends. What do you think the legendary trio is going to be like based on? And what elements?
How do you describe the color blue? How could you guess something like that? Like,
Well, I mean...
that could be based on, like, the color socks the dude's wearing the day that he makes them. Like, I don't know. Maybe...
Well, I mean...
Legendary felines.
I could see it.
That might be one, because, I mean, we've got the dogs, we've got the birds, and we've got golems with the Reggies.
Yeah, the golems are kind of like, by the way, hi guys.
Who knows what Uxie, Melspret, and Azelf are based off of?
Things. Fairies.
I was just about to say that.
I actually think and what do you think elements they're going to be? What types?
Fire. No.
So you think fire, ice, and electricity?
I don't know. It doesn't.
Those were basically the first two
Mostly
sets.
channeling Slowking.
That's what I was doing.
Let me think. The super legendaries are hypothetically dragon and fairy, right?
Yeah.
So maybe some of the other types that aren't those.
Ghost.
Dark
Ghost.
Yeah, because we know
Psychic.
dark
Oh,
is really
yes.
effective against fairies.
Right.
But I would really like to see a ghost legendary.
I would say like dark
Oh wait,
ghost and
Rotom's a ghost legendary.
Dark Ghost and...
Yeah, we have some ghosts.
Yeah, I think
steel.
I think
maybe.
I think we're gonna see a dark.
Oh, right.
I think we're gonna see a dark fairy and dragon legendary trio
I kind of thought that...
It's possible.
because they're really proud of this of the fairy type they've unleashed.
And
So
dragon to... and they want...
and dragons are already most of the time legendary anyway.
That's true.
Yeah, like, even...
Oh,
dragon...
plot twist. Arcanine's going to be one of the legendary trio because he's actually called the legendary Pokemon of the Pokedex.
That I remember that, and kind of...
I would actually be really excited if that happened.
Kind of like Dragonite's considered legendary because of his entry.
Yeah. Also, they've mentioned that I just remembered this. They're gonna have you're probably gonna have more than one rival in game, because this game is based on the idea of a lot of people. Do you think that means they might have multiplayer?
I don't think so, but it sounds like it could be a thing. Which, great, now I'm going to have to deal with another rival sitting across the table.
That would be Zorgulon.
Although it would be pretty awesome if I could get you into a double battle two of my rivals. That'd be pretty
awesome.
We'd
Swingity swag attack.
We'd sweep.
Yes, but by the way, none of us meta Pokemon.
No, we don't.
No EV training. None of that crap here.
Well, I like EVs, but I just gotta like EVs.
No EV training. Effort values.
Right, I always forget about that. My point still stands.
Regardless, do you guys think that they're gonna actually might incorporate like a local type of not local, but like an ad hoc multiplayer type of thing?
Maybe.
They touched on it with Black and White. Remember that
I never played Black and White.
I didn't either, but I remember the White Forest and the Black City. There was they had the whole dream majigger going on, but you could actually affect things that happen in your in a person's game because of that.
Ooh, so that sounds, especially considering it's based off Paris, which we mentioned has a lot of people in it.
Right.
So it's a possibility.
Thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, it's possible.
Maybe it's just me projecting this into the wind because I really, really want it.
But
I could see it happening. I won't be surprised if it doesn't happen, but I would like it to happen.
Ditto.
Really? Where?
Right behind you.
Oh, damn. Since a Ditto is about to eat me, it's probably about time to go.
Well, I don't know, you can just engulf it when it engulfs you.
True, I am a Snorlax. One last thing. What is everyone's spirit Pokemon? By the way, that sound was a marker callously tossed by my younger brother Jenkins.
Actually, callously set down, it decided to do the rolling.
So, what do you guys think is your favorite Pokemon of all time?
That is possibly the hardest question I've
And
ever
or
asked in my life.
or spirit Pokemon.
I have no idea.
My thoughts are my spirit Pokemon is probably Snorlax because I love to sleep and I love to eat. My favorite Pokemon of all time that changes by week, but right this second is probably oh my god, I completely forgot. This is one of the most important things about Pokemon X and Y, since I mentioned Snorlax. Pokemon-Ami. It's an entire mini, mode where you go one-on-one with a Pokemon, and you can pet it, and feed it, and, talk to it. And apparently, that will also give it bonuses in battle.
Raise Snorlax, evasiveness
raising
by feeding
evasiveness and things like that.
That sounds awesome.
Fun.
Just have like a Rhydon that evades every attack that's ever thrown at it.
Magic fish.
Magic fish. I need to port my Gyarados from Ruby into
His Gyarados that
who already
dodged
had an
every
incredible evasiveness.
Well, I think it's gonna be.
Dodge every damn attack you threw at it.
I think it'd be ironic. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the petting's gonna have a different bonus than the feeding and the talking. Although it'd be really funny to feed a Snorlax and raise its evasiveness that way.
Yes. I have
Snorlax that cannot be hit.
I have always desired to pet a Snorlax. So I will finally be able to. My dream will be realized. And yes. Also, people have shown that you can feed them Pokeblocks and things like that. Poffins. But
I prefer Pokeball.
Poffins is such a fun word. Anyway, so back to the favorite Pokemon, Spirit Pokemon. My Spirit Pokemon Snorlax, my favorite. It's like a 700-way tie, which is kind of impressive because there are only 650 Pokemon right now. But it's more like, okay, probably Snorlax, Onix. Yeah, a lot of them are gonna be first gen. Snorlax, Onix, Magmar's really high up there. Venomoth is also up there. And Kabutops, probably. So yeah, any answers from you guys?
I feel like Nick's or Sparkling's spirit Pokemon would be a Gardevoir just because one, he's very intellectual, and two, he has a very strong bond with his own gaming K. Which version?
Damn that Gardevoir.
Yeah. My favorite Pokemon since the second.
Oh damn it! I forgot Haunter for one of my favorites.
Yeah. Second since Johto, my favorite Pokemon have been Raichu, Dragonite, and Typhlosion.
And only one of those is a Gen 2.
Right, they've been finalized since then. I mean, Raichu and Dragonite were before that, but it hasn't changed since second generation, is what I meant.
Bro, I'm surprised you didn't mention Blastoise.
Oh, yeah. Blastoise has a very emotional connection for me. He was the first holographic Pokemon card I ever got.
As far as spirit and Pokemon for me, I really don't know. Maybe a Kadabra. I'm not. I don't have a big enough ego to say Alakazam, but I'm also very intellectual. So,
and Ben spoons in your free time.
Yeah, he does. He does with his
I'll
mind.
break your nose from across the table.
So,
anyways, so favorite Pokemon. I'm gonna take the shortcut and just go with Eevee for now because I never actually finalized mine.
Are
you going to say Ditto, the Pokemon that can become any Pokemon? Therefore, it's automatically every Pokemon.
Right. I don't know. My main issue with this whole thing is that it changes so often, and so it ranges so much that I just have to say
Ditto.
Pretty much everything.
So Ditto.
Virtually, yeah.
So we'll touch on one more thing and then we'll go. What do you guys think of the fact that they're no longer using sprite art but instead 3D modeling? And B, what do you think of the designs of the new Pokemon themselves?
The designs look really cool. The Talonflame looks absolutely terrifying.
Talonflame looks like something from hell.
Yeah. And as for the sprite versus 3D, since the battles are going to be more 3D, I think it's important. And given
the battles look a lot more cinematic.
Yeah, much. Given the footage from the trailer that was released, if you haven't seen it, go on YouTube, just search Pokemon X and Y trailer. It's beautiful. You'll love it.
It is.
Then I think the 3D modeling is really paying off because everything looks pretty awesome. So,
my response to 3D modeling is I'm really excited to see the Pokemon's attacks in the pretty much
in 3D.
Well, kind of like from what I hear, I haven't actually seen the trailer myself, but from what I hear, it reminds me of the Pokemon Battle Stadium games, which I always thought were the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, they were.
So
in 3D.
Yes. I'm kind of excited to be able to carry basically an a story-driven battle stadium in my pocket.
Right.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah.
And you, Nick, what do you think?
Models are cool. I like they said, I like the cinematics. Cinematics are good. And also, very much like Jenkins, I like a good story. Story is my thing. So, I have to agree that I like a Pokemon Stadium that with an actual story attached that I can carry around in my pocket.
As for me, I'm kind of sad to see the sprite art go because there's some really cool sprites. But it's kind of like seeing off an old friend and looking forward to new horizons. I'm kind of sad to see it go. I understand why. I'm not angry about that. I think it's going to be really cool what they're doing with the 3D modeling. As for the actual designs of the Pokemon themselves, I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of them from Black and White, but in this one, they seem to have gotten back to... I don't really know how to explain this, other than they seem to have gotten back to their roots a little bit, and somehow they feel more like first and second gen Pokemon, and I am really excited about that. Except for... there are a couple Pokemon that I'm not a huge fan of, but there are always a couple Pokemon people aren't a huge fan of. For me, it's Honedge. He's a sword. I feel like that's kind of ridiculous as a Pokemon, but that's mine. I'm probably just not going to train him unless he happens to be really awesome.
What if another Pokemon can use Honedge?
That would be terrifying. In case you couldn't hear that, he said, "What if another Pokemon could use Honedge?"
Pangoro.
Yes, the giant panda using his sword.
Machamp with 4 of them.
There we go.
Well,
that would be so sweet.
Oh, hi, General Grievous. Didn't see you there.
As far as Onedge goes, it's okay, but I don't think it's quite as ridiculous as the Lamp series. From,
there was
Black and
there was
White.
a series based on lamps in Black and White. What? But yeah, so that's our thoughts on this, and we better get to the lab. Professor Oak's got something for us, I hear. So time to sign out, and we don't have Jake here, so I'm gonna have Jenkins do the honors. Peace out.
Bye.